Buck, 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 buck. Chicken head has arrived. Hello, everybody. I see Black Hole, Douche Canoe. I see Becca, Rebecca, Rita. Hi, 9 to 5. Hi. Sorry it took me longer than expected. My husband was looking for a higher paying job, so he had an interview this morning. And then him and my son wanted to go fishing, so I drove them up to the fishing pond near our house, and they're fishing for a little bit. Hi, Peekaboo. I see you. Is the sound okay? I'm streaming from my phone, so. But Chicken Head is free from the circus. Woo woo. I find it comical. Hey, Gimme. Thanks, Douche Canoe. I love that saying. I'm sorry. Even though it's been ruined, I still love it. So, if you haven't heard, yes, I am the deemed chicken head. And I laugh. Hey, cool gamer. If any of you guys, and honestly, the chances are slim, but if any of you, no, this is not my first live. I just haven't done a live in a while. YouTube isn't like, this is more of a hobby for me. It's become more of a hobby for me. And so I thought I'd give some background information on like where I came from and how I showed up, since a lot of people don't know. I started following Molly from the Marvon situation. I was a part and a member of the Justice for Vaughn group on Facebook. And prior to that, I had been a longtime follower since about 2015 of Dre. Literally, that was part of my nightly routine, was watching her live at night after my son was in bed. Hey, mama of two girls. So I was extremely, like, invested in that case. And, yeah, you remember me, douche? Okay. So, before I go into any more detail, I just want to say, like, what I'm about to speak on is from my personal view of the situation, from my point of view, from my perspective, my opinion, which everyone's entitled to their opinion. Just keep it classy, okay? So Molly had gone live and decided, literally, she had announced, all right, I'm taking on this case. I'll be live on my channel. Here's the channel. And boom, I was there day one. Okay. I don't remember exactly when I took panel, but I do remember her asking for anybody who had some knowledge of the situation, because she had never seen Dre before. And I will reluctantly admit, like, I thought the way she was going about it at the time was appropriate. However, looking back in hindsight, I would have never condoned or supported the way she handled the entire situation. It is from what I have learned since July of last year, it is very important to think before you speak and make sure you have all of the facts before you decide to go live, especially when it has to deal with anyone who literally cannot defend themselves. They can't, and to be kicked out, blocked, whatever, for stating your opinion or because your views don't align with the creator is kind of childish, in my opinion. And it kind of goes against everything she preached for months and months and months. Put a 1 in the chat if you remember being told, like, I don't care where you go, what you watch, as long as you're not trash talking me or sending me anything about somebody talking crap on her. Like, that's what I remember. And now you see directive being given of not going over to certain channels, not they don't want to see you in certain channels, and if you do decide to do it, to go in under an alt account, which I'm sorry, people should be free and feel free enough to say what they want to say as long as it follows the guidelines and is respectful. This is America. Like, freedom of speech is the thing. If you don't like the impression your words are giving off to people, maybe you need to do some self-reflection. And if MGL honestly can sit there and say that she handled everything right and she did everything with the integrity that it needed to be done in, I'm sorry, she's lying to herself and she's lying to everybody. And I am not going to be one to say, don't go there, don't talk about this, don't talk about that. But understand, and before you speak, make sure you are giving an opinion that is not clouded by judgment, that you really don't know about. And, I mean, be an adult. If you assume somebody is saying something about a person, or you have an issue with something that was said, because let's be real, you can't get context nor the connotation of what somebody is saying by reading a chat, by reading a comment. And I'm not going to give the channel clout, but I was tagged in a video last night or this morning of screenshots of a chat that my comment had absolutely nothing to do that was screenshotted with what the video was about. And when you do stuff like that, you are opening up the door to false narratives. You are not giving the full context of the situation and choosing to single out and punish subs or members for voicing their opinion on something that is really shitty. That's not okay, and that is not a good look. So it's like reading a text on a phone. It can be misleading. Absolutely. And I will be the first to say, sometimes I get trigger thumb happy, and I'll hit like the post button before I finished my statement. But best believe, if you have a question about anything I've said, I will gladly clarify. You know, people came after me about the subliminal message that Molly placed on her stream about CPS. And I'm sorry, but that subliminal message was received by a lot of people and heard by a lot of people, and even they understood where I was coming from. Becky, you're fine here. I know. But, and then to have moderators say something in a chat instead of addressing the person head on. Sorry, that's a bitch move. And if I hear anybody is mentioning me, I'm one that will go to that person and be like, yo, what's the issue? Like, we can talk this out. I'm not, it takes a lot for me to get pushed to a point where I say things that may come and bite me in the butt. I will say this to answer her question. No, I have never been in a physical fight. You know why? Because my logic and the way that I speak gets the person to stop before it escalates to that point. It is a fact. There is mutual combat law in Texas. It is one of the only states that has it. It's funny, but it's a legal option. Do your research before you assume somebody's talking out of their behind, people. I mean, good Lord. And here's the thing. Hi, Vicky. No, I haven't been live very much. I was late, so there hasn't been much missed. But I'm just putting my comments about everything out there without someone, spouting out that I'm panel hopping or panel stealing. And hey, blank screen. I will say this. Put a 1 in the chat for me if you actually saw my video about the whole debacle with Tara a couple weeks ago. Months ago now at this point. I don't even know. They're keyboard warriors. That's all they are. So if you saw the video, Rebecca, I know you did. Lisa, okay. If you saw the video about the whole Tara situation, I'm sorry. Like, I don't delete things. I have the receipts, and you will never catch me saying something to somebody behind the scenes and run and change the narrative. I don't know where that's being misconstrued at, but that's not my style. I say what I say, and I am not afraid to say it to the person face to face. I would gladly take a panel link with MGL and have this conversation, but guess what? She blocked me. What does that say? I find it funny that certain people get sent to the block list, but the bigger, badder, worse trash talkers, no, they get played with. Because it's a money situation. I would gladly take panel. I'd even drop a link for her to come here and have a conversation, but she won't. Mint Mama won't. None of them will. Because I don't lie. I post something that I've lied about. Seriously. Show me. Yep. She sure did. Even Bombshell. I went into Bombshell the other day to give her props for addressing her chat and trying to control her chat. And I said, that was very respectful. Nope, blocked. Cool. She thinks she's always right. She won't. She will never own up to a mistake because, God forbid, somebody do the right thing, the moral thing. No. It's all bashing for cash or it's not profitable, so it's not worth her time. I mean, that's a pathetic thing to deal with, in my opinion. And here's the thing, I will never, ever go lower than a person does to me. You won't see that. I'll meet you with the same energy, but I will never go lower just to prove a point. That's just who I am. And let me tell y'all, there is proof out there of every time she says she would call on someone. Now, I haven't seen proof that she's actually done it, but there's proof out there that she has said on a live stream that she would call and report somebody. I have a feeling a lot of eyes are going to be open in the coming weeks about the whole situation. Are you serious, Flava? This is... And that's the thing. Why do people have to go real life on someone who is using a platform granted by YouTube, who is following the guidelines, who is exercising their First Amendment right to speak on the actions and the behavior of another YouTuber, and that YouTuber feels threatened and decides that they want to go real life? Who does that? Seriously. Karma is not one to mess with. I'm telling y'all. And if you're going to do shitty things and treat people shitty ways, you're going to get it tenfold. Oh my God, Flava. You know what? I'm so sorry. Leave the YouTube stuff on YouTube. Do not go into people's real life. Period. And I'm sorry, but trying to move over to the Facebook platform, I'm telling everyone who sees this, be careful. Be very careful of who you choose to follow to another platform, because especially with Facebook, that's your personal life. Unless you create an alternate account, they'll have access to everything that you have put out there. So please take caution and be mindful of what you do. Don't be a Michelle and come on YouTube with your first and last name and everything like that. Yes, take all personal information off any social media. Absolutely. Make sure your privacy settings are set strict so nobody can snoop to find and go real life. Like, because we are seeing that exactly happens, and it's completely unwarranted. Flava, I feel so bad because I remember us subs were like, you need to create a channel, you need to do a channel, and we are grateful that you have your panels. I've seen, like, it's a safe space for people to go. Becca, safe space for people to go. And now all of this fuckery that you've been dealing with, it's like, for me personally, it's like, damn, maybe I shouldn't have said, yeah, create a channel. But at the same time, I'm grateful you're here. Absolutely. I've got screenshots of the video dedicated to me of her saying, your child's not off, what is it? Like, your child can't be messed with if mine was. Like, that's, two wrongs don't make a right, Miss Life Coach. Really? You're supposed to set an example, and you need to understand that there are a lot of crazy ass people that follow you, who worship you for God knows what reason. Just my opinion. And I know for a fact you have a handful of people doing everything for you, your research, all of that stuff. And that's where you get your content from. You get sent something and you go live. You don't do any research about it 9 times out of 10 before you choose to go live. You've got crazy people, and especially with the following you have, you've got a lot more responsibility to being careful of what you say and how you say things and what information you're going to put out to your subs, because you can't control your subs. That's a fact. Nobody can control their subs. But you also don't know all of the 80,000 followers you have on your quote-unquote true crime channel. And you don't know every single of the over 14,000 on your non-drama drama channel. You need to understand that with more subs and the bigger platform comes greater responsibility. And sometimes you need to choose to just not go live. It's not that hard. Does anybody want to come up? Hold on, let me see. Yes, Molly, House of Williams, all of that. Speaking on the behavior. Aren't you Love Shack, Sarah? Just question. Watts. See, and I'm so glad. I'm glad, but I'm kind of not, that I never saw her coverage of those 2 cases, because I guarantee you I wouldn't have followed for anything. Yep. And no, it's not just them. I'm speaking from my personal experience because that is how I got introduced to them. And I was fooled. Oh my Lord. And let me tell you something, because it is very important. If someone says, don't go watch that person, go watch them from the bushes and form your own opinion. Because I stopped going into Molly's. I don't even really remember exactly when, but it was more so when, actually it was right after the Savannah, Georgia situation. No, this isn't Flava. This is Chicken Head, aka K got something to say. Um, but yes, go and see for yourself. Form your own opinion and stop being sheep. If someone tells you don't go somewhere, I'm the type of person, guess what? I'm going to do it and I'm going to see for myself. And oh my gosh, the eye-opening crap I have seen over the past few months is a blessing in disguise. I will say that. I do agree with some of that. Yes, I've noticed that there are some subs that follow and they change their support based on who they're following and say things like but that's why a good creator pays attention to that stuff and can recognize that stuff. And I'm not established at all, nor am I claiming to be. I'm just speaking from perspective, like especially with all of us, Flava, like that talk outside of YouTube. We have the advantage of being able to spot those problem subs, you know? Subs will follow the creator. And see, that's the problem. Just because you follow a creator does not mean that you have to agree with every single thing that that person is saying or talking about. Give your opinion. Absolutely. Always. But don't play it as a game. You know? Oh, yeah. When I was watching Molly, I literally, I was watching her for the Vaughn stuff, and then the BBC stuff started, and it was funny. I'm not gonna deny that it wasn't. Like, the BBC stuff was hilarious when it first happened, the way that she spun it around. I thought it was genius. But just because you follow a creator, you are not that creator's sheep. You are still a free-thinking human being that has the power of choice in what you do and what you support and all of that. And so, being new to YouTube, it was a lot. I kind of regret her being my cherry popping experience coming to YouTube, for lack of better terms, because of how much emphasis she put on don't go to these channels, stay away from the J, I won't even repeat that word, the J channels, like, and I was like, why though? Like, why does she feel like these people are so obsessed over her? Like, are they really that creeper stalker obsessed, or are they giving their opinion based off of the experience that they've had with her personally? Most people need I agree, like, not everyone is a leader, but a good leader isn't an egotistical narcissist either. That's called dictatorship. And I'm sorry, I'm not. No. I think a lot of us, and that's what I'm seeing, Gemini, is like those of us who have been on the chopping block of hers. I get it now. That's why I said, like, I get it. I can see clearly now the rain is gone. Like, I get it. If you don't fall in line of a certain class, if you do not hold yourself to a certain standard, don't even bother going over there. That's the vibes that I was given. Absolutely. And I will be also like, I did not like Alicia at first. I really didn't. But that was because I was prejudged. Like, my judgment had been shadowed by the words of Molly. And that's why I'm saying it is so important. And if someone tells you don't go over here, see for yourself, do your own research. You don't have to comment in their chat, or do see how you're treated, but don't be fooled. Bye, Rasta. Rasta girl. God forbid you. Exactly. I feel like it would be so much more beneficial and so much more productive if people were able to have a conversation with one another. But no, if anyone disagrees, they're automatically looped in with the trash, for lack of better words. It's honestly, it's sad. Hold on a second. All right, I just dropped the link if anyone wants to come up. But yeah, I was very heated with the whole situation with Mitten Mama, and I was hell bent and gung ho on going low, but you know, mom of a gladiator was like, don't do it, don't do it. And you know what, she's right. I'm not gonna stoop that low. Like, I will just sit back and wait for the day that falling out happens, because Lord, that's gonna break the internet. And I'm sorry, she is the biggest yeah. TOS 2023. Becca Lynn. Hey.
Hey.
How's it going?
Not too bad. I just realized why I have no avatar. I'm not even signed in. Ha! I had to reset my computer.
That's okay. Hey, Shelly Lynn.
So it's funny because, you know, I'm seeing Flavor's comments about calls, and you're hearing about CPS calls. You hear all this. And there was another live where they were addressing, another creator had the same thing happen.
Yep.
And now they're more mad because they think it's coming from this side. And I wish everybody would just take a step back from their own anger. And look at the bigger picture.
Yep.
You know, and I know there's a creator, Devi, she's been saying it's trolls, you guys. She keeps trying to tell everybody what's happening.
Right.
Like, a whole another equation to this, and nobody's looking at it. There's just so much anger and animosity and all this stuff circulating, that nobody's looking past that rage and anger.
Mm-hmm.
And it's scary to see, because when I went down the rabbit hole of Molly, like when I first met her, was I kind of saw her before on something else, and I think it was the Summer Wells case. I think I kind of got turned away from how she was covering it. This is a child. And right. I remember thinking, wow. And then she started boasting a lot. And I hate people who boast about like all the money they have and all the good things. Like it's just a real big, I don't know. Sounds like she was trying to be Jeffree Star. You know what I mean? Like this big, look at me. And I'm like, okay, well, I've never really actually heard of you till now. So how big are you? Right. So it was just very off-putting.
Absolutely. Like she gave off I'm this fancy, like this popular person.
But then you get caught up with her, which is kind of weird.
Exactly. She sucks you in.
Yeah, it was very odd. I was like, oh my gosh. And then again, I found my way because I came from like KJ and all that. I kind of trickled in through all that coverage. And started saying, well, I'll just give her a chance. Maybe I was just too judgy, because I can be that. I can be very judgmental at first. And then I started watching. And when I started hearing kind of like what was going on, I'm like, well, I'm going to do my own research. So I started kind of just like looking into, and I'm like, well, this is not a big case. You know how you like, it's not nationwide. There's not a lot of attention on it. Why are a bunch of big YouTubers talking about something that really isn't out there? Where are they getting this information from?
Right.
And then they started stalking her Facebook. And then and I'm like, okay, well, this woman's giving me weird vibes. Like she's definitely not a normal person, but hey, she's social media. She's making her money, whatever.
I need to go back and see if the video is still up there, but there's something that I caught and I'm really surprised I haven't seen it on the clip channels. And I see what you can. If you're still in here, if you go back and look at the videos from Savannah, Georgia, when Molly and Justin were out there with Olivia and Betty, Molly literally goes up and whispers something in Olivia's ear and looks back at the camera and then like make sure she's positioned right and everything, as if it was this whole production.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It was just kind of, I don't know. There was just a lot of, I don't know. She just seemed so tacky. And I'm like, but again, whatever, she's doing her hustle on YouTube. I can choose to engage or not engage. Right. I just remember it's just, but I was still infatuated with her because then she had this attitude, like she gave 0 F's about everything. Like it was just this whole thing, and seeing her numbers, like she's got a good number calling, she's got good reviews. She's doing well. She's obviously doing something right. And then somebody had mentioned something about a comment she made about Shannon Watts. And I'm like, well, because I followed that one quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking she blamed her. I'm like, okay, why are we blaming somebody without any fact? Like, really? It's her fault her husband killed her. Like,
exactly.
How is it your husband? How is it your fault somebody does that to you? Like, and she's pregnant. Like, how is it her fault?
Like I said, I'm glad I didn't witness any of that, and I still haven't seen the video of it. I'm sure it's somewhere on YouTube, but
it was just everything.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's so important to think about what you're gonna say. Because there's clip channels all the time in the bushes. And the chances are they're recording from start to finish. And if you say something, like, unless you immediately correct it or address it, like you're...
Well, that's the thing. And we're all saying nobody's perfect. Everybody's made mistakes. And I've done them. We've all done them. And it's how you approach the situation after. And either you correct it and apologize, or you continue on with the behavior. But she keeps going, and then it's just more and more and more. And then I just heard Science Girl one day talking, and I'm like, oh, whatever, she's just angry. And then I started really listening. I'm like, there's a pattern here.
Yeah.
Because when Science Girl said she was kind of her henchmen. I don't know if that was the word, but it alluded to her henchmen. She did all the dirty work, and then she threw her under the bus. I'm like, how many more people has she done this to that are so scared? Because I've been feeling that way too. Is that when you're small, or
Mm-hmm.
you've done things for other creators and you're trying to make amends for that, you become very scared of what that person's going to do to you.
Yeah.
Even though you're just human and you're caught up in it, and you don't, we walk through life sometimes with blinders on. We
Yeah.
don't.
I agree.
And she doesn't like
Exactly. If you
anybody
sit back
who's.
and watch, you'll see the pattern. And that's the thing. And that's what a
Yeah.
lot of people are going to start like putting content out there on, is showing like the pattern of behavior.
Yeah.
And
And there's true crime channels. Like I've watched the recently one, oh my goodness, I can't remember her name. Kylie Rodney.
yep.
I've watched that and I saw what everybody was making off of it. I'm like, there's a way to cover it and make your money on YouTube, but you don't have to have super chats on and cash apps going to cover something and
Exactly.
at it. Like there's profit, there's making money for your time, and then there's making all this excess money for no reason. And
Exactly.
when I saw what I just recently saw and what she's made just in super chats alone off of other people's backs,
Mm-hmm.
and then hearing some of the people she supports speak poorly, like Mallory. When I heard about Summer Wells and then the latest with this tour, I'm sitting there going, holy crap, you guys are making a killing off of victims.
Exactly.
These are people who were innocent and have nothing to do with this community. In fact, they were just living their life, and you're exploiting the heck out of them. What happens
And that's why
if
I am so glad, like, Michael Vaughn's mom specifically said, like, don't you dare start covering my son. Like, don't you dare. Because
and there's some people who do a good job at it, and I love the respect they give. They're talking about what's in front of them, not speculation.
I agree.
It's just sad. And they're not making hundreds and thousands of dollars of super chats. Like that's what blows my mind.
It all comes down to integrity. Like, I get it. She's chosen to make this like her job, her way of making money. I'm not. Like, that's not my goal with this. Like, this,
Yeah.
I have been a stay-at-home mom for a little over 6 years. And
Mm-hmm.
so I literally am one that thought that YouTube was just like how to fix things. I
Yeah.
had no idea this sector or these sectors of YouTube even existed.
I kind of always knew they kind of did, just from where I was following, because you had I followed like Tati and Jeffrey, and then Shane Dawson came in, and there was people who would cover that dark side of Shane Dawson. So I kind of like, there's this all like trickle effect that actually leads you to here, which is quite funny when you start really looking back at the channel and thinking, oh wow, this is why I have them in my recommended, is because they've covered this particular person before. And I'm just mind blown. I'm very mind blown how that channel's grown that much, has made that kind of money in YouTube. Even like, there's freedom of speech that I get, but YouTube's still allowing. I would just say, if you're going to cover this, you're demonetized. Like, you're not
Absolutely.
making money.
Like, I don't know her that well, so I don't want to hear anybody griping about me mentioning her.
Mm-hmm.
But I give props to Nonsense for covering, because she's going in depth about all three of them. Okay.
And she's the other rabbit hole that I went down, because
but she has the integrity to not monetize the video. Like, she does not have her monetization on.
No.
And that means the little money sign on the bottom right, for all those who don't know, the bottom right in the chat, that money sign is not on, meaning she can't receive super chats. She can't receive super stickers. Now, if people still have like her Cash App, of course, but that's not something that's going to be made public. Like, that's not something publicly available, because you can't see it happening.
Yeah,
But
and
it all comes down to integrity and
it does, and that's, ugh. And
yeah.
it's just sad because it's like you've got your people who cover this and do a really good job and are respectable, and and you can see by their number of calling and their growth that they're doing really well with it, but they're almost being overshadowed by the tragedy pimp community, and that's how I feel they are. They think they've done so much good, but I'm like, all you're doing, there's a way to shut out and get traction to something like Gabby Petito.
Mm-hmm.
I jumped into that through Grizzly and Ikamel. I as soon as I started seeing that, that's where I followed.
Right.
And knowing the facts, even with Gabby, or not Gabby, but with Kylie Rodney, I knew right then and there what had happened. Did
Yeah.
I have a small doubt? Yeah, there's always that doubt. There's always doubt unless something's proven. But again, I'm a very logical person. You take all the information and you have to put it into like what makes the most sense. There was nothing to prove that something nefarious had happened to that girl. Do I think maybe people had something to hide? I do feel that maybe they saw something, but they
Mm-hmm.
were in themselves intoxicated and not really made any sense out of it, and then went into hiding and shut down because why? YouTube and social media went insane attacking people. So how can anybody come up front and be honest with social media doing what they were doing?
Mm-hmm. I
Like I
really
don't
think like the whole pandemic situation really screwed us all up.
I do.
We got like people grew the biggest balls because they had to be behind a screen and interact with people that it really, just my opinion, it messed us all up.
Yeah, it did. And we went from I don't want to put any blame on one person's particular, but following this pandemic and what we saw with these people covering these sorts of things, then you saw YouTubers and other people and subs on YouTube. And I'm not talking about everybody, I'm just talking about this percentage of people who are just not well or just really like to be hateful, or I don't even know what the word is for them, to go after these kids on Instagram. Like, we got to remember, these are still young kids.
Right.
And they're sitting there harassing them to the point where they had to shut down. Yeah, maybe these young kids were doing things that were not appropriate. We can have our feeling and opinion, but we weren't there in those moments. And you've got kids who probably, let's say, had their high school friends and a couple friends following them on Instagram, to like how many people harassing them on a daily basis, calling them murderers,
Right.
or you know they're not used to that, and they're probably like, where the heck is this coming from? And then you've got this whole little community of these people feeding that fuel to keep it going because they thought it was funny. They wanted more content.
For me personally,
What?
if I ever got involved with the true crime situation, it's like the Maya and Sebastian that I've posted about. I haven't posted anything else because there's no update. But at the same time, like I wouldn't cover a case, especially on YouTube, unless it was closed and finalized because then
Yeah.
that doesn't it doesn't interfere with any ongoing investigations. It doesn't hurt, like, the police need to be able to do the job. Like, leave it to the
Yeah.
professionals and you can
Yeah.
commentate on it after the case is closed. I think had that been done in this situation, it
Um,
would have made a world of difference.
yes and no. I like Gabby Petito. It was that YouTuber. So thankfully, it was the YouTube community that this community of van living found her, right? Like, they had video of where her van was last. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there is a lot of good that can come from stuff like this if it's done in a very calm, appropriate manner. Where, let's talk about this girl. This is where she's missing. If you have any knowledge, this is who you contact. Like, I think there's a way to handle it. But then you've got
Exactly.
this little pocket that is really making it harder and making everybody covering this look like bad people.
Exactly.
And it's sad. And who were the ones that started real life? I find that's where the real life starting. It started snowballing. It's that little, like, I grab a handful of snow and I'm starting it. And now we're seeing real life go more real life than I think I've ever seen on YouTube. Like, I that's
Mhm.
what I'm feeling like. And I know that other channel that we've been discussing, she's gone real life.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um,
And I firmly stand nobody, unless it is physically seen and able to be viewed, nobody needs to be calling CPS. Like, unless you see abuse happening or neglect happening or
mhm.
hear things like that, for one, not even hearing, that's hearsay. But unless you have physical and visual proof of something, don't waste those resources, please.
No, don't. And
It's
you
the
could push somebody to.
CPS across the board is an extremely
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
messed up entity. Like, and it just throw it away and start over, in my opinion. And
And whose life are you ruining? You, at the end of the day, we're all on a computer screen looking at a screen and looking at a face sometimes back if we're cammed up, but you're not seeing what's on the other side.
exactly.
So, my biggest fear is they're going to go too far to where a point somebody might hurt themselves or something tragic will happen.
Oh
And
my
that scares
gosh.
me more than anything. I like, seeing what I've seen in the last couple of days, I'm like, something's bad's going to happen. I just have this feeling something is going to go so wrong. And then who's to blame?
I agree.
Because it's just been sitting in the pit of my stomach watching, because you see a lot in chat. Like you said, sometimes you got to kind of watch what you're reading, and like it's like a text message or
Yeah.
an
You
email.
you can't get the context behind what a lot of people say a lot of the time.
And seeing what happened to MS, like, listen, she dug her own grave in a lot of ways, but I'm
That's the other
still.
thing. From day one, I was there too. I even was on panels trying to
I was
control
too.
her too. Like,
Yeah.
there comes a point where you gotta wash your hands of it, and that's why, Molly straight said, drama community taker. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, but that's where a lot of the views went, because a lot of us
Yeah.
feel like we lost so many brain cells from watching her.
Yeah. And
We
listen,
wanted to see it through, and we saw it through, and it's still not ever going to end.
but now seeing how she still is, which, I understand people want to hear her side, but I think they just need to like ghost her and let her, because what's going to happen, she's going to keep poking into the community. She's so obsessed with YouTube and so obsessed with this person that she is. She's going to
hmm
go extreme.
she's definitely crazy, and she's said it herself. Like,
She's
no,
certified.
she's vindictive. She's very vindictive, and I
So,
don't put anything past her.
so what is it going to take for people to wake up and think, okay, this is we've got to draw that line. I'm seeing so many ladies, and then like you said, you're not allowed to go here, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Whatever. The talking out of the side of the neck thing, and it's okay for you to say this, but if I say it and stuff like that, it's not okay, and I'm shunned, and I'm a horrible beast of a person, and I'm like sitting here thinking, I haven't gone real life on anybody. I've
hmm
made some snide comments. Yeah, I was a little invested into Michelle. Everybody was invested in her. There was definitely, everybody had their, but she also fed into it, right? So it kept that cycle going, and
Absolutely.
um, but I
The
see.
what cracks me up in regards to Michelle is she feels like everybody went real life on her, but at the end of the day, like, here's the facts. You took panel with a relatively large creator
Yeah,
with your first and last name and started talking some crazy nonsense. Do you know how many people got your information in the
yeah.
first 2 minutes of you being up there, Michelle?
Oh yeah, and then she went off with everything she knew and all her family. And you listen, there's things that like I like when somebody talked about her baby, her deceased baby. I don't care. She can be up and down with her emotions because she's just putting on this attitude and this persona. But at the
But
end of the
here's the
day,
thing.
yeah,
Did you see the live where she gave directions on where to find her place marker for her son?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. When somebody chooses to do something vile and disgusting like that, like, I'm sorry, but
Mhm.
you're opening up yourself to be
Yeah, she did. She opened it way up. And it was when she was on Molly's there the first time and then she modded up that person. Like, why would you? I don't care how sore that person is. I would have never modded them up.
Yep. I mean,
Like,
there's just so much vile behavior that has taken place with Michelle, and
because I don't think anybody would have found out about that baby.
nobody would have
Not
found
for
out
that person
anything
saying,
about her if she never came up and
yeah,
like kept trying to prove her point, which I get it. Like, I understand
stubborn.
she's got a mental illness. I get it. Like, I understand. I was a support person for MRDD adults for over a year. Like, I have a lot of experience, and honestly, after it, I would never go back. I can't handle it. I'm too much of a I'll call you on your bullshit type person, and you having a disability, and I can see how you're manipulating the disability to excuse your shitty behavior. I can't fake that.
Yeah.
That's
And
not.
yeah, and just the rope thing, and it's very ironic how her rope thing, she keeps insisting she was right.
She was right, and
But
she
they
was the
just showed
exact
on
opposite.
that she wasn't right. Listen, she could have been right on that type of rope, but again, they didn't say what type of rope originally he did this with. How old the rope? There's like,
Yeah.
again, yeah, okay, it could be a brand new rope and you cut it and it doesn't fray. But what happens if it's a 15-year-old rope that's been heavily weathered?
Yep.
Like she doesn't see variables. She just sees I'm right. I'm right. She doesn't say, well, yeah, perhaps it would have frayed because of these conditions. So this tells me you're not a full-time expert because you didn't look at the variables. You didn't question how old was that rope? How long was
Mhm.
that rope? There was no questioning.
And when she was told, we don't know the details about the rope, we just know that there was a rope, like she should have left it alone. But gosh, she was hell bent and
Yeah.
wired to prove herself right, and she was proven wrong.
Yeah, but she was like freaking out that everybody and all these people owe her money back for all this stuff she's got to do, and like she went on this big rave, and I'm like, you were still wrong though. And nobody owes you anything because you did it to yourself. And in fact, if anybody Googles her now that wants to employ her and they just search her, they're going to see her actions. Do you think they're really going to want that on their books?
Yeah.
Like, employers do background checks, they do social media checks. Like,
Miss America, this panel is not only talking about the MS debacle, just so you know, we are talking about our experiences from following Molly with the beginning of the Vaughn situation, which unfortunately and regrettably includes Michelle. So,
yeah, she did intertwine into that quite a bit. And you know, and the way they would talk about Dre being this person, I think there's more behind the scenes. Yeah, maybe they had a big argument. Maybe she belittled him. I don't know the type of relationship they had besides what she presents online, right?
exactly. And that's what a lot of us who followed her from
But did she want him to do that? No.
I personally don't think that she ever wanted that. My opinion and my opinion only is that there is a relationship and a correlation between the diet change and the drastic of that diet change to what
And
happened.
that was the whole thing too. Is her whole world changed from the moment he did that.
Hey,
The
hey,
moment
Amber.
he made hi Amber. The minute he made that decision, it changed her entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you know, and
And I
she
find
made
it funny though, if you caught the video, like the body cam footage, she specifically had said that that night she had made the decision that she finally realized that there might have been a relationship between the kratom use and his behavior, and that day was the day that she decided to try and get him to stop taking it.
and at that point it's too little too late, and
Exactly.
she's living with this guilt. Like, I think just because she shows us one thing doesn't mean she's not living with in the back of her mind some type of guilt. Her kids are affected, she's affected, he's in the hospital. I'm sure this is not cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got people spreading all this information. I'm sure she had to shut down her social media.
Absolutely.
And she had to
Absolutely
go,
she did.
and did they not have to take his name off? They had to find him a different place or something like that. I just knew that there had been no contact. They had to do all this stuff to protect this man because, again, of these people spinning a narrative that we don't even know what really happened. We just know that this man did this. And do I always think, okay, yeah, you should suspect? Sure, until the case is closed. Let them do their investigation. When it was brought up, why didn't she use that pruning knife? It's like, have you ever picked up one of those and tried to cut an itty bitty rope with them? It's not going to
And
work.
that's the thing too. Like nobody needs to be talking about what she should have done because none of us were in that situation and none of us, all of us will react differently when we are in shock. And I'm sorry, but she was in complete shock.
I watched a bit of it and I had to turn it off because I'm like, I cannot even fathom where her mindset is. And her, they're met. She screamed at the dog, and I'm like, I would have been screaming at the dogs to get away because the dogs are just reacting to the situation, and she's trying to do what she can. And then you've got these fuzzy things in front of you. Or
Exactly.
if your kids are coming out, I would scream at my child to get back in the house. I wouldn't mean to scream at my child, but you don't want them to see that. Or, I've seen my husband, he's a very calm person in an emergency. And when he sees a child, like one of our girls, when there was a situation, he'd say he was calmer than I would be. He'd just say, can you please go back in the house? It's okay. Like he had the calmer attitude. But people said, well, you didn't act very right. Well, what's the right reaction?
Right. It's easy to pass judgment when you're on the outside and you're looking and reviewing everything after the fact. But like some people and most people, in fact, like they react in the opposite way that you think that they would react.
Everybody doesn't react in some of us have just hair trigger tempers. Some of us have a lot of patience, and we're all different people. We're designed differently mentally, and at the end of the day, until you're in a situation. And then how long did they cover this for? Like based on the situation at hand and how quiet the investigation went, they covered this for months.
They had to have. And that's the thing, like are there flaws based on that video footage from law enforcement?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. But at the end of the day, you know that they did everything that they should have done, or that they could do given the information that they had at hand to be able to rule what they ruled and claim like she did not have any hand in what had happened.
And they do look at the person. Like people tend to think cops are not reading the body language. They are reading them. They are reading them. But they're not going to make a judgment right away unless there's obvious signs that they've done something. But I mean, like you said, the stuff he was on and the amount he was taking, their diet as well. Like there was a lot of factors that played into his mental health.
Yep.
And to look back in perspective, and listen, I was in her chat and I said, oh, well, you never know, because they were showing clips of her behavior. They weren't really showing us any of the good she's done or any of the silliness that she is. They only showed the ones that made her look like a bad person.
Exactly.
And
I see what you can't. I definitely agree. Like that was, to me, that was genuine when she was told that he had a pulse again. Absolutely.
Yeah, and if she wanted him gone, do you think she would have called 911 so quick? She could have easily just, that's the thing. She could have just left it out there and said, I'll make sure he's there for a good hour. You know what I mean? She's not going to sit there, I'm going to hang him and call right away. Right? And like from the time that he did this till the time she discovered him wasn't very long.
Right.
So again, if she
at the end of it, like I don't want to
I just hope
I don't want to continue with the bashing or the speculation because at the end of the day, she's been cleared.
Yeah. But I just hope she pursues some legal action. I really do. I hope somebody finally stands up and makes people who are doing this accountable for their actions.
Absolutely.
It has to
And
stop.
it needs to set a precedent because, and again, if she can go to bed at night and say, I never, like, I did everything the best, like, I did no wrongdoing, she's lying to herself. I'm sorry, but she is.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
So,
no, I can guarantee she beats herself up every day.
hey, Mama of a Gladiator.
She beats herself up every day because of, like you said, we also, like you said, she noticed that medication might have been too much for him, and but
Yeah.
she can't hold on to that anymore. If he is making progress in his recovery, again, none of us will ever know that because some people destroyed it for others. Because Jerry was keeping her people up to date on him,
Oh, yeah.
and now she won't.
Yep. I had her on Snapchat. I had her on Instagram. I had her on Facebook. Like, I had, and she iced everyone but very, 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 very small amount of people out.
And for good reason. Like,
Absolutely.
but
I
it's
don't blame
sad.
her at all. And she, like, Dre is definitely going to have a lot of trust issues now because
Ugh.
even as somebody that watched her and tried reaching out to her, like,
And financially,
I
this has destroyed her. People just
absolutely.
destroyed her financially.
Mm-hmm.
Like, honestly, what is she doing for making a living now? You know what I mean? Like,
That's the thing. Like, people need to be careful about who they choose to cover and what they choose to say because her face is well known now,
mm-hmm.
even more so than ever. And I would imagine it would be very hard for her to gain employment after this fiasco.
Well, remember when apparently she went to a paparazzi thing in Las Vegas? Like, they were literally looking for her there.
Oh, yeah, they had people out there waiting and watching and snooping to see if they could find her. Like, that's not okay. It's just not
Yeah,
okay.
it was just like,
And yes, I know she was going to open the business, and I haven't looked into it. It was the My Mother's Garden.
oh, okay. Yeah, exactly. Her whole life right now, from the moment it hit, like, yes, it changed from the moment he did what he did. There's no doubt about it. But financially, maybe there would have been, she could have continued with her business because she did have a good audience. And maybe she would have been able to open her business once, he was on the mend or whatever. There was this whole future ahead for her. But where does she go now?
Yeah,
Like, she's not selling paparazzi, obviously, because how is anybody going to get her stuff? um
exactly.
it's just, and then does she worry about somebody finding out because obviously she knows people are watching her? Does she
Hmm.
go and apply a job and get worried that people are going to go there?
Right.
Like, I'm how far is too far?
Okay. But I gotta end this. My
Yeah,
husband and son are ready to come home, so I gotta go get them from the fishing pond. But I appreciate everyone coming in. Um, if y'all hit the like on the out, I'd appreciate it. Becca, I appreciate you taking
thank
Pam
you,
with me.
it's a
Uh,
pleasure.
and I will go live when I can. Just being a stay-at-home mom, I'm not gonna go live when I have mom duties. So I'll see y'all in chats on our rounds in the YouTube world. I appreciate all of you and do your own research. Take care, y'all.